Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, a massive recruiting weekend for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers as they're slated to have multiple elite prospects on campus over the next couple of days. Want to dive into some of the names that are really standing out for me that are visiting Auburn this weekend. Fired up to get into this one and take a look at this Auburn program on the recruiting trail. And I would ask you guys, name a program that's generating more buzz in the talent acquisition department than this Auburn program. Yes, you brought in Hugh Freeze to revamp this offense, bring in one of the, best offensive minds in the country to run this program. They also brought Hugh Freeze in to get the recruiting back to where it belongs. And over the last 18 months, it's been exactly that. Fired up to get into it. Before we do it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and to the Auburn fans. It's been just a blast talking this program in the transfer portal, on the high school recruiting trail. The amount of support you guys have shown the boys, all the War Eagles you guys drop in the comment section, that stuff, it means the absolute world to the boys. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, a program that's going to be fun talking about over the next couple of months. And if we get any commitments over the weekend, we'll certainly be breaking those down as well. And without further ado, let's get into this list. And I want to start with, a guy that is probably on commitment watch over the next 48, 72 hours, cornerback Blake Woodby from St. Francis Academy in Maryland, a kid that was committed to Ohio State for a very long time, opens up his recruitment. And it sounds like Auburn, Charles Kelly, really running away with this recruitment. He's going to be on campus for Auburn. You get into Blake Woodby and say, although he doesn't have the prototypical frame that you're looking for on the boundary, at the boundary cornerback position, you turn on the film and say, yeah, this kid can play boundary cornerback in the SEC. Take a look at the athletic profile. Guy that lasered 4.39 in the 40, runs a 4-second flat shuttle, elite movement skills at that quarterback spot. And you're seeing Auburn really covet speed and athleticism at that cornerback position. You look at Devin Williams from Buford, Georgia, committed to Auburn. Another guy that I believe goes as low as the 10.6s in the 100-meter dash. Auburn wants cornerbacks that can run with these elite wide receivers in the SEC. Blake Woodby, certainly one of those guys, and he's a two-way player. And he plays offense and could be a damn good offensive player for this Auburn program at the wide receiver spot. But you take a look at the cornerback film and say, he's kind of too good to keep away from that cornerback position. The ball skills are certainly there. Big fan of this kid. We'll break down the film if he does, in fact, commit to Auburn. Take a look at another name that I'm monitoring for Auburn, and something that's just flying under the radar is what Auburn's doing on the defensive side of the football. A lot of people like to point to Cam Coleman, Walker White, Perry Thompson. Yes, Auburn's recruiting the offense side of the football extremely well. That is not necessarily a surprise to a lot of college football fans who followed Hugh Freeze during his coaching career, but what's kind of flying under the radar is what Auburn's doing on the defensive side of the football as well. You look at Naheem Offord. He's committed to Ohio State. He's an in-state kid in Alabama. I absolutely love this kid. There's a reason he's a top 10 consensus player in the country. He's a quarterback that takes the ball away. And that's something that we absolutely covet when we're looking at these high school prospects. Can you make those game-changing plays that allow you to win games on Saturdays at the college football level? Naheem Offord, he's a guy that you turn on the film and he's just baiting quarterbacks into making bad decisions. It's almost at times purposely leaving throwing windows open. Quarterback throws the football very quick to close the throwing window, making plays on the football. I think this kid is a difference maker at the cornerback spot, not only in terms of erasing whatever wide receiver one is in front of him, but a guy that can make those game-changing plays that, again, help you close the gap in the SEC. Massive fan of Naheem Offord, massive fan of Blake Woodby. Now let's go on to the offensive side of football. Take a look at five-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham, also going to be on campus. We're talking about multiple top 100 prospects on campus for Auburn. You look at Caleb Cunningham and say ball skills are absolutely out of this world. And it kind of makes sense when you dive into the athletic profile. This is a guy that on the basketball court, 1,500 points, averages 18 points per game. I took a look at some of the basketball stuff. He's certainly a very good player on the hardwood. Then you watch the high school film on the football field and say, yeah, it makes sense that he's an elite basketball player, because when that football is in the air, Caleb Cunningham is just kind of on another level in terms of tracking the football, going up, making those contested catches. Talk about a guy that is going to consistently make those high point catches, be an absolute animal in the red zone. That's what you're getting in Caleb Cunningham. He's not necessarily the biggest frame. He's not necessarily the fastest wide receiver on the field. But when you have a wide receiver that can consistently be that guy that can go make plays for your quarterback, that is always a good thing to have, especially when you're getting into the red zone and those throwing windows are somewhat small and in some cases non-existent. Just throw it up to Caleb Cunningham. Let him make a play. You start looking at, if you land Caleb Cunningham over the next couple of years, Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Caleb Cunningham, some big-time physical wide receivers. You sprinkle in a guy like Bryce Kane who has just elite speed and short area quickness. I am fired up about what this wide receiver room might look like for Auburn. You go back to 2023 and say that might have been the worst wide receiver room we saw in the SEC. You take a look at what it's going to look like not only in 2024, but what it's going to look like over the next couple of years, and say Hugh Freeze doing a phenomenal job really just transforming this wide receiver position. Next guy I want to talk about, one of the top offensive tackles in the 2025 class, Broderick Shull from Bixby, Oklahoma. Some farm boy strength, as I think how I would say it. This is a guy that probably kicks into guard potentially. I mean, he's got the athleticism to play tackle, plays right tackle at the high school level. The reason I say he might be a guard is when you get him in those close quarters situations, when he has hands on people, he is exceptional at just moving people off the line of scrimmage. Also a guy that works to the second level extremely well as well. He carries 275 pounds, just about as good as I've seen a high school kid carry that weight. When he's getting to the second level, he's consistently getting up to backers, safeties, putting hats on hats. I think this guy can give you really good tackle play, can give you a really good guard play as well. Fired up about a guy like Broderick Shull. Last two guys I want to talk about, one, and a familiar name for the Auburn fans, Kalen Edwards. And you look at already having Malik Autry locked in this Auburn class in 2025. What better guy to pair him up with than another just massive human on the inside, and Kalen Edwards, who not necessarily the most productive high school stat line, but you turn on the film and say, this kid's a game wrecker. And he's a guy that has the athleticism to probably play that 3-tech, but certainly can be just an elite nose at the college football level, plays really low pads, strong in the hands, eats up double teams exceptionally well. Really good first step for somebody that size as well. He's not a guy that is necessarily going to stuff the stat sheet, but he's going to be a guy that allows your linebackers to play downhill, to play clean, because when you have a big dog on the middle that's eating up those double teams, not allowing offensive linemen to work up to the second level, it's going to help the rest of your defense out. There's a reason why Georgia has had so much success with these kind of kids. It is coming down to Auburn and Georgia, it sounds like. And if Kirby Smart likes him on the defensive line, I certainly like him too. Was committed to Auburn, decommitted with some of the coaching changes. Getting him back on campus, I think he got a really good shot to close the deal on Kalen Edwards. Last one I want to talk about, and another one of my personal favorites, off-ball linebacker Elijah Melendez, who I think is kind of flying under the radar because he missed pretty much his whole junior year with a broken foot. This kid is about as put together as a 17-year-old I've seen. And I don't know what they're doing with these 17-year-olds, but these kids, I mean, you look at Elijah Melendez and say he's been in a college weight room for the last couple of years. I mean, this is a guy that is rocked up, has phenomenal athleticism, plays running back and linebacker. You take a look at the running back film and say phenomenal athlete. Then you turn on the linebacker film and he is flying around the football, going sideline to sideline, a guy that certainly can operate in space. And we talk about this a lot. You want your linebackers comfortable in terms of operating in space, tackling running backs in the flat, carrying tight ends up the seam. Elijah Melendez has the athleticism to do all of those things. Another one of my personal favorites that Auburn is going after hard. A couple other names that we did not talk about, but wanted to highlight some of my favorite players on campus for Auburn. Again, if we get any commitments, we'll certainly be breaking those down. Appreciate y'all rocking with the fellas. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.